Welcome, everyone, to Self-Mastery Training via Ageless Wisdom Teachings, okay, where we are focusing for the next 9 lessons on a book by Lucille Cederkranz called The Soul and Its Instrument. Last lesson was on the Astral Body, Part 1, where we began to kind of chip away a little bit at the astral body and aspects of it. We kind of learned that it is one of those areas or subject matter that many times we have been misled on what the astral body is and is not. And a lot of the teachings there we've not understood, or they have been misunderstood or mistaught. And now we are, and we got into the reasons as to why that happened and exactly what did happen a little bit. We looked at the fear and attachment that humanity has to phenomena. We looked at the astral body as the power factor of manifestation, which it is. That is a major teaching that's been left out around the astral body. And the attitudes within our being that can hinder our growth. This time we're dealing with, again, the astral body and the emotional nature, part 2. And here we're going to be looking at the astral plane as a convergence of many forms, worlds, and energies, the individual astral body and its contact with the physical body, and 3 methods of cleansing the astral body, and inherent dangers of past systems, and the astral body, and a mantra for truth. The astral plane is composed of energy that interpenetrates and duplicates physical substance. It lies between the frequency ranges of the mental and physical planes and is held in relation to and coordinated with the other planes via the etheric network. Its substance is molded and vitalized by the energy of thought, meaning that not only does every physical form have its duplicate upon the astral plane, but that every mental form as well also has its duplicate on the astral plane. It is then, insofar as outer appearances are concerned, a world in which there are many worlds, a plane of many varied forms. So in the teachings, you'll find that there are even by remote viewers, people who are able to see at far distances, either within the planet, outside the planet, you name it, other planets. These people who are gifted with that ability speak of a ring around the earth, which is composed of the astral aspect. It's the astral thought forms around the earth. And within that ring, it is also known that the astral plane in and of itself has several different levels. It has a lower level, a middle level, a higher level. And the lower level is composed of all the negative thought forms of humanity, thought forms and deeds of humanity. The middle level is a combination of a bit of that plus the higher level as well. And then the higher level is an area where it is said you will find ascended masters, and beings of a higher frequency. Okay? So there are many, many levels to the astral plane. And as it says here, the energy of thought and the energy of emotion, its substance is molded and vitalized by the energy of thought. Every physical form has its duplicate upon the astral plane, and every mental form also has its duplicate there. The disciple, continuing, who has attained true vision, looks beyond the form and sees a plane of converging forces. These disciples see that which is coming from higher levels into incarnation and that which is coming from lower levels out of incarnation, plus the force of human emotion. They see those energies and forces in action that decide human destiny, and in so doing are able to see into the future. This seeing into the future is not, as some suppose, a viewing of the form, but rather of the conditions that are both in a state of present precipitation and probable future precipitation. So this is similar to what I was just speaking of, that there are those beings, those people who are gifted seers, who are able to cast their vision in any area chosen and pretty much see exactly what's going on, be it past, present, or future. They see the path both in symbolic form and in present conditions. They may visit, as a part of their training, the many illusory worlds existing upon this plane, such as the wish life of an individual, a family, race, or nation, the different hereafters created by the various religions, the many so-called occult schools that are attended by those both in and out of incarnation, and what have you. They are not, however, blinded by the form they see. They are able to look upon it and interpret its meaning, its place in the scheme of things. In doing this, they are not attracted by the glamour of the form and are free, then, to observe, learn, and move on to the next lesson. They are neither alarmed or elated by what they see and are gradually enabled to control the forces contacted upon this plane for the betterment of humanity. When disciples have reached this stage of development, they are a great power in the world for good, free and uncluttered by the glamour of the astral plane. They can safely lead others in truth, for their light will pierce the fog that would ordinarily blind them. So they are not, however, blinded by the form they see. They are able to look upon it and interpret its meaning, its place in the scheme of things. So what I'm getting from this is an aspect of an ability to view what is happening at any particular point. As they say, they can view the wish life of an individual, family, race, or nation, the different hereafters created by religions. They can, as well as the so-called occult schools that are attended by those both in and out of incarnation. So they have a vast ability to see, view, understand, experience. And yet, they do all of this in a detached way. They do not become, as they say, attached to. They're not bent out of shape by what it is they might be viewing. Okay? They are not blinded by the form they see. They're able to look upon it and interpret its meaning. They're not attracted by the glamour of the form and are free, because of that level of detachment, to observe, learn, and move on to the next lesson. Okay? They're neither alarmed nor elated by what they see, and are gradually enabled to control the forces contacted upon this plane for the betterment of humanity. That is a very high individual who is able to do that. Very highly evolved, that's what I mean. Highly evolved individual who's able to do that, who will not get lost, pulled, caught off guard, and become imbalanced by what it is they may see. And the only way that any of us are able to do that is through a certain level of detachment from the astral or the emotional levels. Okay? Detachment, which does not mean a lack of love. Detachment, which does not mean apathy. Detachment, which does not mean, well, not caring is apathy. It's an aspect, it creates equilibrium. That kind of detachment, it's a level of spiritual detachment, because we know life in itself brings all kinds of emotional tides. Let's call it tides. It brings all kinds of emotional tides, but the ability to experience the tides and not be attached. It's non-attachment. The Buddhists call it non-attachment. And not be attached by it is the key, okay? That shows a level of mastery on the human level, on the human plane, okay? When disciples have reached this stage of development, they are a great power in the world for good, free and uncluttered from the glamour of the astral plane. They can safely lead others in truth, for their light will pierce the fog that would ordinarily blind them. The individual astral body interpenetrates and duplicates the physical body. So there are we have many, many bodies, okay? We have the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the spiritual body. So we have, the physical, and this chart represents what's called the constitution of man. Okay, it's called the constitution of man. There are 7 levels, obviously counting from the top down: the divine, the monadic, the spiritual, which is also called the atmic, the intuitional, which is also called the Buddhic plane, the mental, also known as the manasic plane, the emotional, or the astral or kama plane, and the physical plane. And each of these planes has 7 levels within them, okay? For a total of 49 subplanes of the cosmic physical plane. All of this is known as the cosmic physical plane, okay? On the cosmic physical plane, we have what's called, what we know, much of what we're familiar with, up to about the third level. We have the dense physical. So this is the whole cosmic physical plane. There are 7 levels. The physical plane is the 7th. Okay? Emotional plane is the 6th. The mental plane is the 5th, or the monastic. The intuitional plane is the Buddhic plane. It's the 4th. Spiritual plane is the 3rd. The monadic plane is the 2nd. Focused, connected with the energy of will. And the divine plane, or what they all call, in Sanskrit, it's called Adi, the plane of the Logos. Okay? Going back down, let's see if we can go down. How do we do this? Yeah, pushing it up. You have on the physical plane, this is something that we're familiar with. We have the dense. Remember I said every plane has 7 levels, 7 layers, subplanes. So you have the dense, we know that, the physical dense, liquid, gaseous. And then we get into the ethers. Okay? The 4th ether is what we're touching into right now, and we'll be touching into more as we go forward in time. Then the 3rd ether, the 2nd ether, the 1st ether. These will be named, then they'll get their names a little bit as we go forward. But the 4th ether, this 4th ether. It's the ability for us to see the auric field. Okay, it's the ability. We're touching into the 4th ether now. It's the aspect of everything getting finer and thinner. Okay, and we're seeing that in materials that are getting finer. We're seeing that in the veils between the worlds becoming ever so thin right now. Okay, and getting thinner as we go forward. Because what is actually happening is we're moving from the dense physical to a point where we will no longer need these physical meat suits that we're in, this physical body that we're in. Okay? We will be of light. Okay? That's what these finer ethers are moving into. We will no longer, the emotional or the astral emotional realm is not a physical realm. Correct? Right? It's not a physical realm. It's an energy, it's a frequency. We are moving further and further into that finer frequency where we will no longer be like this. Okay? The same thing on the emotional plane, 7 levels. Mental plane, again, 7 levels. Okay? And you see that other aspects of things are involved that we don't really need to talk about right now. So that's the constitution of man. And that shows you the different levels and how everything progresses and moves. The individual astral body interpenetrates and duplicates the physical body and the environment. It will be colored by the individual thought life and composed of the grade and quality of energy determined by the evolution of consciousness concerned. That's important. The grade and quality of energy within each being is determined by their evolution of consciousness. The astral or emotional nature, whether of an advanced or lesser evolvement, expresses the quality of the personality consciousness. So, for those of us who fall on the floor and have tantrums every time something doesn't go our way, it's really kind of giving, an indication of where we are on the evolutionary level, or, how evolved we are. For those who can realize that things may not be going their way, and then they can observe and go, okay, I see this is happening. Okay, how are we going to handle it? Totally different level of consciousness. Okay, totally different level of consciousness. For those who can say, who can understand that things may not be going their way or something terrible has happened, and they can hold compassion for the individual it might be occurring to, or they can say, if it's occurring to them, for them personally, they can say, okay, this is obviously is not supposed to be happening right now. Okay, totally different energy. Maybe it'll happen at another time. Maybe this isn't the right time. Okay, totally different energy. So, individuals are known by their emotions. Whether or not they will be successful in their undertakings is dependent upon the development of their astral nature. To be successful, one must be equipped with emotional depth. Now they're calling it emotional intelligence. Okay? This does not mean that the individuals are given to emotionalism. No, on the contrary, but that they have the emotional strength to devote their efforts to any given plan. Totally different human being. The astral body underlies and is peculiarly related to the liquid content of the physical body. Yes, astral, emotional, we're automatically talking about an aspect of fluidity, water, okay? Many times you'll see in a movie, right? How many times have you noticed something negative is about to happen, and all of a sudden the camera cuts to turbulent ocean water, the turbulence of water, the turbulence of oceans or seas. Something is about to happen. You automatically hear thunder. It's related to the aspect of liquid. It has four main points of contact with the physical body, which are the sacral center, which governs our generative organs, okay? The solar plexus, right at the point of around the navel area, which has two major centers, the lower solar plexus center and the higher aspirational center. Solar plexus is called the second brain. Within our being, we register a lot in the solar plexus. The heart center, which is really a center of air. It's an air center, really, spaciousness. But the heart registers emotion. And for that reason, it does. There's no question about it. We feel the pain in the heart when we're hurt. Okay? And a certain area in the brain. The aspirant very rarely contacts the astral plane via the sacral center. Why is that? That is because in esoteric teachings, the most important centers for us to be contacting are those centers above the solar plexus. The heart, throat, okay, ajna, cave, and higher. Either the solar plexus door has closed or is in a process of closing. They are usually in contact via the heart center, and so becoming aware of their karmic relationships. Their aspiration is activating the centers of contact in the brain and they're being unconsciously prepared for the study of an entrance into the astral plane. When these brain centers have been correctly stimulated and activated, when the students have received an intellectual grasp of this plane, and when they have undergone the purification of their own astral nature, then they will develop extrasensory perception as well as other spiritual powers. Okay? Now, the centers within the brain, I would venture to say, are the pineal gland and possibly the pituitary gland. Okay? Definitely the pineal is one of these. Let no students fool themselves in believing that they are ready for this development until the former development has been made. So we can't step over major steps. We have to take each step one at a time. For just so long as they are subject to emotionalism, to glamour of any kind, and are interested in phenomena, they are barred from this type of growth. Did you hear that, people? That is so important. The development of psychic sensitivity and other spiritual powers is extremely dangerous if it is either forced or sought after before the student is ready. Major, major, major piece of information right here in this paragraph. Because what they're saying is that there is no spiritual bypassing. Okay? We cannot bypass and think that we've stepped over that. I don't have to deal with that. This is not important for me for whatever reasons because my goal is. We will always have to step back. Okay? Go back and make sure that we have touched on each stepping stone along the way. So that, and why is that? Because the goal is to be spiritually fortified. The goal is to be able to handle the emotional realm. We don't bypass handling the emotional realm and think that we can move into the spiritual realm. It just doesn't happen that way. If we can't stand steadfast when a tsunami is coming, an emotional tsunami is coming, and handle it, face it. Remember, we're here to master our matter. If we cannot do that, then as they say in as they say, as they say in the hood, you're shucking and jiving. You know, they cannot give a baby spiritual tools, bottom line. Okay? We will not know how to handle it. We will disrespect it. We will not appreciate it. We will desecrate it because we are not fully developed all along the way. Okay? No true teacher ever seeks to develop the student along these lines, for they know that as the growth of consciousness progresses in the right direction, so naturally will the abilities of the student. These will be a byproduct of the student's understanding. Students are first taught to cleanse their astral aura by or through number one, and this is what builds us, character building. This is what develops us. This is what dots the I's and crosses the T's to make sure that we are truly, we profess to be, so that we can be given greater wisdom. The tools of spirituality, the higher tools of spirituality. They won't give us more if we have not actually taken the time to build a strong foundation. And when I say they, I mean the powers that be. And in that, I include the soul, the monad. Okay. This is self-mastery training via ageless wisdom teachings. Okay. So one has to make sure that as you see these notches or these different levels of approach to higher realms, that you actually work with each one fastidiously, determinedly. And the character building requires honesty. Okay? You have to be honest with yourself. Let's see what character building says. They develop those attributes that they know to be their divine heritage by conforming, insofar as is possible, to their divine prototype, the soul. And the vehicle that allows that to happen, conforming to that divine prototype, is meditation, point 2, that we'll be going into. This constitutes for them the ideal, the vision held before the personality as the goal of development. This is necessarily colored by much glamour in the beginning and is usually motivated by selfish interests. We all start from selfish interests. Every last one of us. Okay? It's okay. Recognize it. Be able to name what the selfish interests are. Look at them dead in the eye. Know them, because then you learn more about you. And you can work with each one until they atrophy energetically, because you realize that there's something much more important than you and your selfish interests. Okay? However, as the student nears the state of right aspiration, the vision becomes a thing of beauty and conforms more nearly to reality, until at last the aspirant is expressing one or more of these attributes through right action. Usually such a one is engaged in service through creative art. However, as yet, they have no true concept of soul-inspired service. They are nonetheless on the path, approaching conscious discipleship, and will one day wake up to their inner motive. Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. So until we begin to understand what our soul's service is, which is not necessarily anything we think we like or want to do, service from the aspect of the soul is totally different. It's about the need of humanity. Okay? And possibly, of course, the gifts and talents that you have, mixed with the gifts and talents that one has. So it's not just any old thing that you might want to do. It's more so the need from soul levels, on soul levels, as to the need of humanity, the ongoing needs of humanity, and the needs of your environment as well. That which is in your environment, which includes humanity. So it's a different thing. We'll talk more about that in later sessions. So you use your talents until you really understand what your soul's service may be. And whenever you do find your soul service, trust that you will be just as excited about it. Okay, you will be very excited about it. It will not. It's impossible for your soul service to be something that you do not want to do. Okay. They are nonetheless on the path approaching conscious discipleship and will one day wake up to their inner motive. Meditation. When aspirants consciously enter the path, they are taught the fundamentals of meditation. They learn that through right thought, the astral body can be controlled and utilized as an instrument of service. Taking their stand on the plane of mind, they consciously turn the light of truth into their astral nature. There, they see, standing, the forms of centuries which they have created through many successive incarnations. They learn the meaning of karma, the hidden motives that have driven them as a personality, both to success and failure. And finally, the secret of the astral body, which is revealed only during a certain initiation. They are taught the effect of sound upon this aspect of their instrument. And through the right use of sound and the energy of the mind, they rebuild the astral body. They throw out of it all that substance that is heavy and colored with the gross emotions of lesser evolved humanity, and build into it substance of a finer, clearer nature. The astral body then becomes the desire body of the soul and is utilized as an instrument of magnetic attraction for all that is needed for service. That is a beautiful paragraph. The astral body then becomes the desire nature of the soul. Absolutely beautiful. Not the personality, which it is right now, not the desired nature of the personality, the desired nature of the soul. Totally different thing. Number 3, service. This activity is in itself the final act of purification, for only through service is the disciple freed from the glamour of the 3 worlds. Through what appears as the great sacrifice, the chains of the astral plane drop from the consciousness and are seen as the illusion so often spoke of. The disciple is then attained self-mastery. Very, very key. So meditation is the vehicle through which character building is ongoing, because meditation brings you face front with weaknesses, deeds, words that created harm, thoughts that were violent, even though unexpressed. Okay? Meditation brings you face to face with yourself. And as it brings you face to face with those lower aspects for you to see, and as you recognize them, as one recognizes them and releases them from their being, because they see the truth of how harmful they are, how ugly they are, and how it is totally against that aspect of blueprint that we spoke of earlier, that blueprint of the soul that is actually being downloaded, that divine prototype. Here it is, that divine prototype of the soul that really is awaiting to be recognized by you. Okay? But you'll never recognize it until you clear out the old stuff. The stuff, the gunk, the goop, the shadow. Okay? Meditation is the key for that to happen. And as you become more purified, released of that old blueprint that was not you, or that you may have brought in from other lifetimes, as that substance, that matter of the old you is redeemed through transmutation, which means that it becomes energy, pure light. It becomes pure light that can be used and utilized by the divine. Then that frees you up so that not only can the divine prototype now take its place, but in that there's a purification process. There is a fortification, a stabilizing process within your being that goes on. And there is also a direction now within your being to what your service can be, what your service may be. Okay? You get hints, you get greater hints. So number 3, service. This activity is in itself the final pure act of purification. For only through service is the disciple freed from the glamour of the 3 worlds. Through what appears as the great sacrifice, the chains of the astral plane drop from the consciousness and are seen as the illusion so often spoken of. The disciple has then attained self-mastery. Because there is much teaching presented today that actually constitutes a danger to humanity at this time, I shall take this opportunity to point out to students certain practices that must be avoided if they are to avoid unnecessary hardship. Number 1, do not center the consciousness in the solar plexus center, either through meditation or mental exercises. This center was used during Atlantean days as the main center of contact by both sensitives and magical workers. The race, at that time, was emotionally polarized, and the evolutionary plan necessitated the stimulation of the astral consciousness. Okay? It was the aspect of the emotional body that was being strengthened or developed in those Atlantean days. Now we're in a totally different time. And it's now the mental body that's being stimulated. Okay? We are now working to become mentally polarized, not emotionally polarized. We've been emotionally polarized for way too long. Okay? And that is now shifting, which is why detachment, the ability to detach, not through apathy, not through, what do you call it, any level of disconnect from humanity. You're connected to humanity. You love the king, all 5 kingdoms that we have. It's not a restraint of love. It is love with the ability to be detached, which means that you're not in the goop or the soup of it. You can stand, you can see it, you can look at it. That's mentally polarized, okay? And you know exactly what needs to be done. Today, remnants of that civilization remain with us. And due to crystallization or deliberate misrepresentation, certain of their teachers are presenting the old Atlantean methods still today. The evolutionary plan today necessitates mental polarization and the development of mind. The astral body must be subdued and controlled by the consciousness focused in the mental aspect. This eliminates, for the present, many of the old phenomenal experiences known to mystics and constitutes one of the sacrifices the human race must make for the sake of progress. It is difficult to give up anything which one has grown to know and love. But believe me, my brothers, this phenomena that holds so many of you prisoners to the astral plane is not reality. It has been a step in the evolution of consciousness. So we are moving out of that old way completely. You will note, I stated, has been a step in the evolution of consciousness. Yes. Okay. Number 2, do not use the creative energies to produce magical works via the sex act. That such a practice would be taught in the world today is unthinkable, but we have among us those who are doing just that. The purpose behind this type of teaching I shall not reveal to you, but I warn you that such practices will lead down a path that is most dangerous and undesirable for humanity. Number 3, do not attempt to leave the body through any center but the head center. Another very important one. And then only under instruction you know to be rightly motivated. The aspirant, the probationer, the disciple, the initiate are taught all to move from the body through the head center. Never any other chakra point. Okay? And there's a reason for that. Because our alignment, our alignment is a vertical alignment, not a horizontal one. And the practice of leaving through that head center is absolutely vitally important, especially during the death process. Most who don't have that training will leave through the solar plexus because of fear. It's an automatic exit point. Car accident, fear, leaves through the solar plexus. Knowing that it's time to go, fear, leave through the solar plexus, or picking up on the fears of others around you. But training teaches you straight up, straight out, so that when you leave, you know where you're going. You know where you're going. Okay? You're not stuck on any of these other levels below and trying to work your way up and out, so to speak. Okay. I'm sure that there's definitely, even leaving through the head center, there are things that will distract you, of course. But uh, depending on one's level of training and one's habitualness in that training, okay, to practice it on a daily basis, then one has a better, has more strength. They've gathered more power and strength in the ability to depart and go directly to where they need to go. Okay? Finally, my brothers, I shall give you a mantra to use before you accept any instruction as to meditation, the act of transition, what have you, which will, if used with complete honesty, ensure your protection against that which you do not as yet understand and cannot therefore control. Ah, interesting. He's hinting at what I just told you. Okay? And when I say he, even though Lucille Cedarkrantz is the author of said author of this, this is a transmission. Okay, this is a transmission from her contact, and his name is one. He's one of the ascended masters, Master Rakotse. So that's what he's saying. And we have a tendency to call it just to automatically say he. Those of us who know that. So he's really talking about what I just mentioned. I shall give you a mantra to use before you accept any instruction as to meditation. Number one, fine, good. The active transition, what have you, so this mantra is something that you can use even in the aspect of transition from when you're departing, discarnating from the body. Okay. Which will, if used with complete honesty, ensure your protection against that which you do not as yet understand and cannot therefore control. Focus the consciousness in the head and repeat slowly and with care this particular mantra. I seek only the power of truth. I seek only the power of truth. When it is said, focus the consciousness in the head and repeat slowly with care. If you recall, last week we spoke about the ajna and the cave, right? The ajna and the cave. And through our meditations, throughout creative thinking, we have been dealing with centering our focus either in one of these or moving into the ajna center and then following that line of light, integrating the threefold persona into a unit of consciousness that can be impressed by the soul, and then moving that consciousness back along that line of light, back into the cave and sitting there. That's where you should be going in this particular meditation. And there's a couple aspects of meditation. Let's do the first one. Prepare for meditation, please. You're going to take a deep breath And as you release it, relax the physical body. Giving that instruction to your nervous system, knowing that it will obey. You're going to take a second deep breath. Moving into the emotional body. Seeing it as a pool of water. Observe the surface of the water. And calm the surface if it so needs. Until it is able to reflect the light of the sun. Take a third deep breath. Moving into the mental body. Becoming focused, alert, aware. And looking out through the brow, 2 to 3 inches beyond the forehead. See the ajna center and move your awareness out to that ajna center. And take some time to integrate the 3 lower bodies into the ajna center through the use of your breath each time. Inhaling, drawing up the physical like little balls, like little lotto balls. And when it reaches the mental, allow that ajna center to magnetically attract that emotional body into the ajna center. The residues that have not been integrated as yet. And the same with the emotional and the mental. Take as much time as needed. And still within the ajna center, and from the ajna center, become aware of your soul. Not in any particular location, necessarily. Sense the soul. And as you sense the soul, if you pick up on that vibration, sound a silent Om. And move your awareness from the Ajna center, looking deep through the brow, into the head, into the center of the head. Imagine a line of light that connects the two centers, the cave and the Ajna, and allow your consciousness to move directly through this line of light, straight into the blue-white field of energy that is the cave. Know the cave is a frequency rather than a location. And sound silently within the cave the mantra, I seek only the power of truth. State it once without stating it again. And feel or hear, if you can, the frequency of that mantra. Hear the sound of that mantra. And allow yourself to follow your awareness, to follow that frequency, that note of that mantra. As if riding a carpet, or taking a carpet ride, allow the note of that mantra to fly you, move you, staying connected with that sound as you remain in the cave. And when you no longer hear the sound, stay with its frequency because it is still there. Now take a deep breath. And as you release it, relax the attention and return to normal awareness. Take a few minutes just to check in and see if there was any experiences or any impressions you received. I would take a moment to kind of go into that space of quiet to determine and discern, really, not determine, discern what you may have brought back from that meditation. Write something down if there's anything to write, and know that this is a meditation that you can. I sense that there is a lot of power in this meditation, a lot of something to be um, a lot of downloads in this meditation, really, a lot of downloads that one can get. I can feel it. So simple as it may be, and yet not at the same time. There's a tendency when this is an example, and this particular meditation is an example of having a seed thought, okay? And there's a tendency when we have a seed thought, once we state it silently to ourselves, there's a tendency to want to repeat it over and over and over again. You don't want to do that. You want to sound or pronounce it internally in the cave and listen for the silent sound of that seed thought. And follow it. Imagine you're on a magic carpet and just you're following it where it's taking you along. And it will take you far. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, you realize that you don't necessarily hear the sound anymore. So we being people who need to feel like there's something physical around us, something that we can touch, might panic and say, oh, there's nothing there anymore. Know that this frequency continues, even though you might not be hearing that silent sound anymore. Trust it. And then, for those of you who are doing this, you might begin to feel like a heaviness. You'll feel like something returning. Feels like a heaviness in the brain. Might feel like a weight. Okay? If and when you begin to sense that, that is the response. You've made the call, and therein is the response to that call. Okay? Then you just sit quietly and try to go up into that area where you feel that heaviness if you feel it, and try to determine what came back. Try to clothe this feeling in words, if that makes any sense. Try to put a word or two, a concrete word or a sentence. Make a sentence, if you can make a sentence, and just write that down. Okay? Might take a while for you to learn this, and you might think that you're making it up, and maybe in the very beginning you will be making it up. Okay? But after a while, you'll find some gems being brought through. Okay? Okay. Bye-bye. Blessings.